So Star Wars, it's this one's the Last Jedi, correct? Am I
The
correct?
last, I think
The
that's
Last
what
of the
it is.
Mohicans.
It's definitely the last of something. Maybe the last time we're ever going to see a Star Wars movie. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's
It's
get
not The
into it.
Last of Us because there's gonna be another one of those.
I know. Isn't it unfortunate for us all? But
Anyway,
anyway,
so this is a movie review, I guess. Uh,
yeah, yeah. I'm
so
sure in a previous video we said we'd never do this, and here we are. So
yeah,
fuck
we
you. No,
did
I'm
Suicide
kidding.
Squad. I think we overrated Suicide Squad.
You're right. We totally did. And I gotta say, you and I
Well, this
just
is
saw
this
the
is just
movie
like
like
an initial impression. Yeah, I just got back
no,
home like an hour ago from
yeah, no,
seeing it.
same. So I mean, what we give it now and what we say about it now will probably be different in a week once we've seen like outside sources. And I haven't
Yeah,
watched any reviews on it, obviously, and neither has Ben. It's
yeah.
just
I
our
mean,
initial thoughts.
and there's
But
always like that little contingency of how you feel going into the movie, like not just
yes,
like what you've heard about it, but like if your day's been
hmm,
shitty, like you've already got a
yeah,
bad connotation about the movie. And so like
exactly.
I went after, like I drove straight from work to the movie theater, and
Hmm.
everyone was lined up to go see Jumanji, and I was already pissed off at people. But anyway, um, I mean, so talk
Where
me
do we
through
fucking start?
talk me through like your first spoilers. By the way, probably, am I
Yeah,
right?
the whole
Spoilers.
thing's gonna be spoilers.
Okay.
I don't think there's really any way we can segment this up to, well, there could be a way, but we're not gonna do it that way.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be too much
basically,
censorship, and we're not good at that already.
yeah, no, definitely. So I'm sure there's plenty of non-spoiler reviews online that don't tell you anything, but we're gonna actually talk about stuff. So
Okay,
anyway,
so like initial impressions of like the first 30 minutes.
yeah.
Let's segment it up as that.
Okay, so I gotta say, and this is me assuming that people that are watching this have also seen the film. It's it starts off pretty solid, I gotta say. There were a lot of action scenes in this movie that I did enjoy watching, and that's always something Star Wars has done pretty well about. I'm not saying that like that's not definitely not one of the things that I feel like they're shit at. I feel like most of their action scenes are pretty engaging,
Oh
pretty
yeah,
interesting,
that's
and
for
well
sure.
shot. And same with visuals. I mean, that's one of the first things you notice in this movie, as you always do. The fucking tech they put into this movie is really high quality and
Yeah, I mean,
everything looks good.
we
And
could have built a spaceship to Mars with this kind of tech, but we
yeah,
used it
I
for a
know.
movie.
No, we're waiting. NASA has more than enough funding. We don't need to give them any more money. Let's pump it down into Hollywood where it really counts. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, those are just some of the things I noticed right off the bat. As usual, visuals are good, sounds good. Fuck, what happened in the first 30 minutes of
But
yeah. So, what did you think about the first 30? Just like the first initial things you kind of saw. I don't know.
so well, the the title
Go
screen
on.
the title screen that comes across, like the a long time
Yeah.
ago in a galaxy far, far
Yeah. Yeah.
away.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Of course.
I watched all six of the previous movies. Oh
Mm-hmm.
no, all seven. Sorry, all seven of the previous movies over the span of the last 2 weeks, and
Mm-hmm. Whoa, shit.
I've noticed that the title screens of like
Uh-huh.
explaining the prologue of everything
Mm-hmm.
um, has just gotten shittier. Like the first
Really?
two movies, like episode 4 and episode 5, are like, oh, this is what's happening. It's like really good. Like, okay, here's the setup. And this one's just like, yep, and the rebels are fucked again. Princess Leia is still a thing. Cool, and it just
Yeah.
zooms straight in. I'm like, all right. I mean,
That's neat.
thanks for phoning it in, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Star Wars movie. It's gonna start off the same. It's gonna be like, here's the bad guys, here's the good guys, here's what they're doing at the same time. They'll bring them together
Mm.
at some point and cross paths.
Yeah.
And I mean,
And
that's cool. I mean, they have like Star Wars has a formula. They don't fuck with it. They know what people
yeah.
liked, and so I mean, I'll give that. It's first like did how like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how big of a Star Wars fan are you, Keith?
I'd give it about a 6, honestly,
And
six or
I'm the
seven. Like
same way. Like
I know
Our friend Matt
more.
reads the comic books and the whole novels of
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's
And I
ridiculous.
don't do any of that shit.
But
Okay. I'd say more of a 6 because I don't
I will
know
casually
a
watch
ton of
I
it.
will casually watch movies. I don't know names for shit. I don't know lore.
Hmm.
I just like I'll
Yeah.
casually watch a movie like, okay, I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Um, but just the thing that Star Wars does that irks me so much is it gives so many head nods like, oh, remember when we did this? Remember when we did that? Remember this?
Remember?
Remember that? And I was
Hmm.
just like, the amount of times that they head nodded, I felt like their neck was going to break off, or they were ended up sucking their own dick because of how far they were head nodding at themselves. Remember? But that's Star Wars, so you have to go
Yeah.
into like, this is what it's going to be. I sit down and
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Hmm.
So all in all, like the first 30 minutes, there were no plot holes. There wasn't anything like that threw at you that was just like, oh, that's completely a curveball. I didn't expect that kind of thing, which was fine. It kind of
Hmm.
eased you into the rest of the 2 hours of the movie.
Right.
You
And
know?
you can kind of expect it because, well, and that's the other thing. I think that's another reason why maybe you thought the opening screen was dumb because there was absolutely no time in between when the last movie ended and when this one began. So,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was like a
what can
span
they
of what,
really.
2 days?
No, no, exactly. What can they do to fill you in? Like nothing's happened.
You're
Like
right.
you,
Okay.
you've seen the past movie. So anyway, but yeah, launching into that, obviously you guys have seen the movie or not. Then this year you're just finding everything out. But it starts out literally right when the last one ended. Luke is just a bitch. Just every Skywalker that's ever been is just a bitch, and I don't know. Ugh. Fucking Anakin, and then Darth Vader, and then Luke, and it's just, ooh,
They're
I
relying so
messed
much
up.
on this like
And
family ties kind of thing,
I
and
know,
it's
but then they don't even because then he doesn't even go to Han, he doesn't even go to Leia, really. He just, I don't know.
well, yeah, they're
There's a
like,
lot of,
oh, is he gonna? Oh, maybe. Oh, is he gonna play with this? Oh, no, fuck you. At
I
the
know,
end, I was just
the
like,
whole movie,
the
you
whole
wait
movie
for
is just
Luke to do something,
yeah.
and then he just,
But
yeah,
that's the point. It was the same bullshit of every single Star Wars would be like. Granted, 4 and 5 are my favorite, and then surprisingly, Episode 3 is like my third favorite
mm-hmm,
one, which is weird. But anyway, it's just like it was the same formula to an extent, but it was the same formula of oh, the dark side and the light side. That's just the over encompassing thing. But then it's just you know, the Empire or or whatever the dark forces is at that time
mm-hmm.
is is just they're pounding down on the rebels. The rebels are always like running. They always have their backs turned, and it's just like oh, they get one small victory. Like they blow up. What was it called? What was the giant ship
The
called? Not the Death Star,
Oh,
but from this movie.
nah, I know what you're talking about. It was one of the first ships they blow up with the
Yeah, and they're
bomber.
like, that's the one little tiny victory they get. There's like, oh, hey, they got one little ship thing because, all the captains and admirals are completely disappointing fucks and don't know how to send
Yeah,
escorts. But anyway,
I know.
it's just like, that's the same formula they've been using. And it's like, this time they didn't have a Death Star, like a Super Death Star or like 3 Super Death Stars. They're like, let's just, chase them until they run out of gas on their ship.
Oh my God. Don't even get me. Okay, so before we launch into about 50 things I want to talk about, I want to get I want to get the good things out of the way real quick because I feel like I'm a little more nitpicky about this than I have things good to say. So, real quick,
I'm the same way.
we already kind of mentioned a few of them. Visually, it's good. The sound design is good. There was no Wilhelm scream, so I'm disappointed, but whatever.
Maybe no, they
The
always sneak in one. Maybe I just didn't hear it.
I didn't notice it, but anyway. And then the action scenes were pretty tight. There were some new creatures that you hadn't seen before in the Star
We
Wars
know where the
universe
blue
that some
milk
of them
comes
were
from.
interesting. Yeah, we know where blue milk comes from. Boom, 10 out of
That
10 would
was
recommend.
stupid.
Um, yeah, it was just like a big fuck you to the whatever. But anyway, so am I missing some of the things you liked about it, Ben? Were those
They
mostly the
didn't do.
positives?
They didn't go super campy, like
Yeah,
with their jokes. I mean, they threw in like the little tiny Jar Jar Binks nods with the little baby bird things that were on the
yeah.
island. They're like,
No, you're
oh,
right.
this,
They weren't as campy this time. I
yeah.
hadn't noticed
I
that
mean,
until you
they
mentioned it,
started
but
off. They're like, okay, let's get some laughs in there, and then let's get some serious stuff in, which was cool with me.
yeah.
I didn't hear a
No,
whole bunch of. Did you hear the line? I have a bad feeling about this,
I didn't. I don't remember
which is
hearing
really
that. Maybe I
nice.
just missed it. Yeah.
So
Oh, you're right.
okay, cool.
Um,
So yeah,
That's
on
one.
that, I mean, they did the campy stuff, like the nods,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like
Uh,
overly bearingly cheesy for
hmm
once.
I really liked the dynamic between Rey and Kylo in this movie. I
Yeah,
thought it was one of the stronger plot lines is them like connecting and figuring out about the backstory of how he started doing this and he's like you thought he was changing but then he
and
kind of didn't but he still sort of did but
you're
not
you're wanting to
really and
believe that he wasn't manipulating her for his own benefit, and then at the end,
yes.
and then like towards the end, you're like, oh, maybe he actually was changing, but you don't really know, which is the cool part.
Yeah.
Like they're like, here it is, and then he also straight up lies about who Ray's parents are. He's like, oh, your parents are just a whole bunch of homeless people that sold you for beer money.
Mhm.
And like
Yeah.
he knows, everyone else in the theater knows except for Ray, and which is cool.
Right.
I also think Ray's put
Wait,
on about
wait.
10 pounds.
All right. All right. All right. Slow it back. Now, if this is really dumb, we'll cut this out. But who are Ray's parents? I don't think I picked up on that.
Leave a comment below what your theory of who Ray's parents are and the whole backstory and theory why. Cool.
Okay.
There you go.
Fine. Backtrack to where we were, but sorry, that caught me. Anyway, whatever we were talking about, I thought that there. So here we can pick it up here. I thought the subplot, but or main plot, whatever you want to call it, between Ray and Kylo was pretty interesting and their dynamic.
And what was really
Um,
cool, spoiler again, was how
mhm.
God, I already forgot about the Emperor's name.
Snoke.
Snoke. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I
What
kept on
about him?
saying smoke,
Smoke. He
smoke.
looks like it too.
But anyway, you lose skin and your teeth fall out.
Oh
But
God, it's worse than meth, kids.
he's like a anti-smoking ad campaign. But
Hmm.
anyway, I really like how when Ray is brought in to his chambers, they're like, "Yeah, dude, I totally set you guys up. I was the one who's connecting your minds the whole time. Like,
Hmm.
I knew that you were weak. I knew that she was gonna believe you that you were weak. When all along it was me bringing you two together. Like, I thought that was
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Although,
That's pretty neat.
uh, going just kind of off of Snoke, although this is in no particular order of what pissed me off the most. This is just my list. Anyway, something that frustrated me, and I don't know why they would address it in the next movie because I feel like we're already past it. I mean, maybe they will, but I doubt it. Snoke just had no backstory, and I don't even think they bothered to write one for him. Like, I was really expecting there to be some, like, he's this guy, or, you thought so and so is dead? Well, it's been him all along, or, like, some really
Yeah,
cool way that they were going to integrate him into the story, but it's like, nope, Snoke's just
I
evil,
mean,
and he's, like, always been evil, and he's just kind of here
like there's no
now, and no,
timeline
he's
on it
dead.
at all. I mean,
There's no timeline.
there's probably external lore that we don't get from the original movies.
Hmm.
And maybe it's in the books, but who the fuck cares? Because
And no one reads that
the
shit.
general 99% of the population only gets their knowledge of Star Wars through this movie
The films.
media. So,
Exactly.
like, I mean, they realized they messed up a little bit on like the original three with General Palpatine, and
Hmm.
then they're you know 1 through 3 they were like, oh, he used to be Jedi master that they brought up through the ranks, and then went like through that. So I mean, they went
Hmm.
through and explained that with Snoke, he's dead already, and I know they're not going to backtrack again, at least for not another
Yeah.
12 years at least.
Right.
So
And he's obviously has great control over the Force. He has Force lightning. I mean, he is a Sith master.
oh
Where did
yeah,
he come from? He just
where did he go?
literally Disney just Cotton Eye Joe. All right, but Disney just pulled Snoke right out of their ass. I mean, he just
Through the
there's
Snoke.
there's really no way I feel like he could have organically been written into the story other than just here he is, he exists now, and he's corrupted Luke's mind or fucking Kylo's mind or
Yeah,
whatever. You know what I mean? And I feel like they knew they were up against a wall on that one. They're like, oh, whatever, let's just kill him so we don't have to bother explaining how he even came into existence. that was one thing that pissed me off.
Ooh.
Uh,
New thing that I just even thought about that it actually even pissed me off the movie. Sorry for interrupting.
what?
So
No, go ahead.
you know when they're trying to figure out a plan to get the transporter, to
Mm-hmm.
not be followed,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, oh, it's called what's her fuck the old tiny lady from the last movie.
Yes.
Like
Uh-huh.
let's call her. She's like, no, fuck it, I'm too busy, but like having a small coral on my planet where I'm at. I'm not gonna go help the entire rebellion.
A union dispute.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I
who
mean
cares, lady?
that's a euphemism basically. But anyway, it's just like she's like, nah, fuck it, I'm not gonna go help. But I know this one dude you can go
Who's
to who's
on
in
this
like who's
planet?
on this planet who it's really fucking hard to get to, and everything there is shitty. Instead of me dropping what I'm doing right now, which isn't really too relevant, and going and helping out, and I'm gonna send you to the shady dude who we're gonna give you no backstory on, and then within
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes he's gonna betray you.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like,
Yeah. And
and then
there's
that whole thing was for naught. Like
all of that.
that whole
All of that
I think they just want to
was
show off more of
terrible.
their tech stuff because they did a whole lot of cool CGI with that entire planet.
They,
It was
I
a good
think that
20-minute filler.
is definitely arguably the worst part about this movie, in my opinion, is the subplot with Finn and Rose.
I
I
did go
think
pee during that scene, by the way.
okay, it was completely. First of all, just take away, like, we can break down the scene, but it was completely irrelevant in the sense that the fucking the purple-haired bitch, whatever her name was, and she takes over. First of all, yeah, so she takes over, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
oh, Leia's knocked out, which that scene was horrible. I was like, thank God Leia's dead. Like
Yeah,
something actually has happened. And then
I
no,
was mad that
she
she came
just
back in.
she freaking Iron Man through space and time comes in and is
It was
like,
a
oh,
it was an exact
Jedi
rip
don't
off
need
of
to.
freaking what was it called? Guardians of the
Uh,
Galaxy 1 uh,
yes,
when he was out there.
yes.
But anyway,
Oh, I'm not really a human. I can breathe. Yeah, anyway, so she
yeah.
just breathes through space or whatever, and yeah, so that was dumb. Second of all, purple-haired lady. Here they are. There's like what, like 500 people left in the rebellion at this point, and they're
Yeah.
all on these like three ships. And he's like, okay, I'm like one of the top guys. What's your plan here, new commander lady? Oh, what is it, commander, or is it captain? Huh? I don't know. Didn't you just get demoted? Like, is this really the time, ma'am, to be like shitting on me? So anyway, that pissed me off. And
I mean,
then when
it was explained later why she was a bitch. Leia kind of explained it because she had to act like that to pretend that she didn't know what she's doing. But I still think that was a BS kind of
that
outing.
was still horrible when
Yeah,
she was like, so she's like, he's like, what's our plan? And she's like, your plan is to go sit on your ass and not do anything. So then this guy who's giving everything to the rebellion feels that someone incompetent is in power and is about to just do nothing and wait for Leia to wake up, which then spurs Finn and Rose going off on this harebrained, dumbass
it did not
side
even
plot
fucking
nobody
make
cared about,
sense.
and it didn't even work. So if she had literally just told him, hey, look, dude, we're beelining it for this planet. We're going to get off on our side ships. They won't be looking for us. We'll make it to the planet. We'll hole up. They're going to blow up this ship. They're going to think that they got us all because they'd have no reason to think that we left in any way, and then we're going to be good.
And then
And
the
then
whole
he would
plan
have
would have
said,
actually worked because
yes, and he
there would have
would have
been.
said, oh, okay, great. But no, she didn't say that. He made them go off and do this crap. They recruited some guy who betrays them and then tells them that their little ships are getting off, and then it makes them blow them up, and then they find the planet holding spot, and now there's
which
10
is
rebels left.
which is the exact scene. So that little planet that they're on is the exact scene of when they were on Hoth from the first one.
Yes,
Because,
yes, completely.
but I'm so glad they did this because I was about to like freak the fuck out. So it looks like there's snow on the ground. And remember the scene, the guy's in the trench, he puts his hand out and then licks it. He's like, oh, it's salt. Just to say, oh, hey, this isn't a snow planet. This is salt. Just to say, this is different from Hoth.
Look, it's different. It's
It's different.
different.
We
We're doing
swear.
something different.
We know it's the same
It's
exact thing. The walkers and the AT-ATs are here. And, we're in one little
we're in a
trench.
trench. Oh my god. And there's a big door and
Yeah,
yeah, dude. I know. And oh my god. I wanted Rose or Finn to die so badly. I
I
was
know.
like I was so ready for Finn to just go head on to that thing and die. And then Rose hits him and then she's, "Oh, you don't win wars by hating. You win wars
Just
by
by
loving." And it's
loving,
like,
and then I'm
shut
gonna, and then the most awkward kiss I've ever
and
seen
oh
happened.
my
It looked like she
god.
kissed his nose with an
Dude, it
open
was
mouth.
something. They were trying to take the awkward kiss award away from The Godfather. I mean, it was just, it was just bad. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I know this is about to happen, and I really don't like that this is about to happen. And then it did, and I'm like, fuck. So really just everything that had to do with Finn and Rose pissed me off. I mean, not that they were bad characters, just the way they used them was inefficient. They're
Yeah,
like, I'm not saying
like
like,
the
oh, I
last
hate
movie,
Finn or I
Finn
hate
was
Rose.
detrimental to the entire movie. Like the whole thing
Yes,
hinged on Finn, and then
because
this
he
one,
was actually a part of the important plot line. This plot line they gave them was nothing. It was
yeah,
dumb. It was irrelevant, and it made their plan weaker. And it could have completely been avoided had the purple-haired lady just been transparent about anything with
yeah.
anyone, and there was no reason for her to hold back. And I think that was one of the biggest problems I had with the film because it spurred off the subplot, which I didn't care about, and it led to a lot of problems that, I'm not saying Star Wars is a realistic film by any means, no one is, but there's certain levels of realism you like to see in human behavior in fictional movies. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, no one's over here like, how would you even make a lightsaber? Or we actually haven't figured out how to travel at light speed yet. Like, no
midi
one's
chlorian
criticizing
aren't
that.
really
Yeah,
things.
like nobody criticizes that, but what people do criticize is human behavior in movies. It's like, I don't
Yeah,
care if lightsabers are real or Jedi is real, but I do care about people being dumb because that is genuine
I
and
mean, you
universal regardless of what's happening in any
in
film.
regards to
And you can
conflict, you can't have conflict or suspense without some sort of incompetency.
but then that's the
If
problem
everything
is
was perfect, then you wouldn't have conflict. Then you wouldn't have an interesting movie plot.
but
I'm
then that's
playing
the
devil's
thing is
advocate
that
here.
I know, but well-written movies can still have successful conflict and
This
plot
is true.
devices without people being stupid.
So
The
I'm gonna
best. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
on.
just gonna like take a sidetrack here from this.
Hmm.
One thing that did come from that little side adventure that Finn and Rose had was
Hmm.
that uh, Captain, or what was he demoted to? Poe.
Oh, yeah, Poe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He during that whole process, he was communicating with them. That whole process, his character was changing
Hmm.
in a cool way. They were developing that character into, by the end of the movie, they're like, when they kind of step away through that tunnel, Poe is now the reincarnate of Han Solo in like
Yeah.
the sense of the entire group of the rebellion. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And that wouldn't have happened without that entire side story, because he wouldn't have
Hmm.
been doing anything. He would just been like sitting on his ass.
Yeah.
So I mean, granted,
That is
there was
true.
something that happened with that side piece.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a millionaire producer that writes scripts, so I'm not gonna propose that I could have written something better. But I think the millionaire producer that only writes scripts could have, if he wanted to use those characters, there could have been something else. And I'm not saying that like, oh, the only plot line in this one that mattered was what was going on with Luke and Ray, because they definitely just divided the attention pretty
Yeah,
much the whole movie between those two plots. And I
I
definitely
really
feel
would have
like
liked to
Ray
see more of the training
of
and
Ray.
like
No,
internal conflict with the dark and light side that she was seeing on the island.
I agree. Because that's what's real to the movie. That's what's going to carry forward in the next one. Everything that just happened with Finn's and Rose, with the exception of a couple character development things, are now completely done. Like, none of that is going to matter in the next movie. But everything that mattered with Rey, Kylo, and Luke is going to matter in the next film.
Exactly.
And that's
Point
definitely
taken
why
there.
I think they could have, they should have spent more time on that, and it felt way too equal. I mean,
The whole scene with Ray down inside that hole where the dark side was with the
Mm-hmm.
mirrors or whatever
Mm-hmm.
infinite universes, like she started doing that little soliloquy talking over like, subconsciously of like I knew there was an end to this infinite loop. I want to get to the end, and then like it shows the end of it where she's touching the mirror and nothing happens. I'm like, well, shit, I want more of that. Like, that was cool. That was deep. I wanted to see like some more dark stuff come out of it. Maybe she gets a
Mm-hmm.
vision and we see part of the vision. Like,
Yes. And I
this,
was, and
that's just me at, my $20 an hour job telling you that. So,
no, I agree, and I mean, I think there could have been a way that they could have made the other story more relevant and less dumb and still introduced those character elements, and could have been a way that they could have put more into that main plot, because I think, I think that's a big reason why it's getting as poor of reviews as it is, take away the main review to namer, just
yeah.
old guys that sit in a theater for a life and just get, rate everything an A plus because they get paid off by the studio. I mean, look at the actual audience score.
I feel like the ratings won't age well. I feel like the initial
No,
reviews are the people who are really, really looking forward to it and the people who get paid to make good reviews of it.
exactly. And I think that we're gonna see, like, the theater wasn't full when I went there
No, it
today,
was
and
not.
I know it's a fucking Wednesday night, but
Yeah.
it's came out like last week, and it wasn't full, and the last one was packed, and that was Rogue One, and it was like 3 weeks after it came out when I'd seen it, and the theater was full. And I think, and I'm not saying Rogue One was an epic movie, but I think it was better in a lot of ways.
Well,
Mainly because,
it was a distant kind of tie to Star Wars. One
yes,
was.
and they could take liberties with the film that, and then it worked out really well because everyone died and it was perfect how it wrapped up.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very solid ending. But anyway, um, uh,
A
there.
solid ending to life in every single movie.
Exactly, exactly. So, bottom line, there were some things about this movie that were cool, and I think those were things about this movie that are just innate for Star Wars films. I mean, saying it looked good and sounded good and good action scenes eh, is like, that's you just sort
Actually,
of expect it
I'll
at this
argue with
point.
you on
Oh,
that.
really? Well, what are you thinking?
It did not sound good. So I mean,
You didn't think so?
the sound effects were great, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but the actual score and soundtrack is literally nothing. So the actual score of the movie, I did not really recognize any
Mm-hmm.
theme pieces that were different from the original Star Wars score.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know the song "Dueling Fates" from the Phantom Menace. Like the movie was shit, but that
Right.
song is super iconic and great. It was the only thing that stood out from that film, but it was
Mm-hmm.
completely standalone from all the prior Star Wars original music. Like there was nothing original that stood out to me. There was probably some background theme music, some environmental music, but nothing that was
Mm-hmm.
composed and written for this movie solely to stand alone as like its own little soundtrack. And that was kind of what
That is
bothered
true.
me, because Star Wars is
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, here's our music, but then they're so reliant on the old stuff now that it's kind of gotten away
That's
from what it
true.
could be.
No, that's a very good point. I didn't notice that.
There you
Wow.
go.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
Do you have anything else
so
you want to bitch about right now?
no, I think those are really my major points. So, what my kind of baseline is that there were some very good plot development things they had in this movie. I think they were a little off base on some things. I still feel like Luke was misused. I don't know. I didn't really like the direction they took Luke's character, but that's another video. Uh, and
Yeah.
he's gone now, and it was really just dumb. I just hate how they kill off the Jedi all the time with just this disappeary shit. But anyway, I feel like I could really nitpick this movie to death, and overall, I thought it was enjoyable to watch. I mean, but I think Star Wars hopefully has heard some realistic criticism from this one,
It's
and
Disney. They're gonna make
yeah,
money.
see, that's the problem is they aren't compelled to write a good plot because they don't need to. They don't, it's like
It's not like their
Transformers
backs.
for
It's not like their
Christ's sake.
backs are against the walls or anything.
No, it's not a cash. I mean, it is a cash cow. I mean, and we see movies these days. They can just shit out anything and it makes money. I mean, this isn't the '50s anymore where it's got to be, really in depth and well written and based on stuff. And if not, it doesn't do well. I mean, movies just can look good nowadays and they do fine. So I don't know. So really, I think taking everything into consideration, the good, the bad, and the ugly, my initial rating anyway is 7 out of 10.
And
And I know, sorry, what was your
yeah, I mean, I can definitely concur with that. It fluctuates between like a 7, 7.5.
mm-hmm.
5 out of 10 is actually an average movie. So I mean, this is above average. Like,
Yes,
I've
I
seen
I
I've
think
seen the worst to the best, and then like this is
hmm
above average. So it's not a poor rating. It's just
no,
I don't think it's
and
going to age well for me. If I watch it
hmm
again, I didn't walk out of the theater like, oh, I need to watch this again. I don't know.
hmm
Like, what did you think on that?
I, for me, I feel like it definitely could fluctuate. I think it it did some things in the movie that I liked better. It did some things I didn't like. I definitely respect it more as a film than I did Episode 7. I would probably give Episode 7 like a 5.5 or a 6. So I think there were some things they did that made me like it more, from a plot standpoint anyway, than
Yeah,
the last one, because the last one was just the
it was a
safest bet they
rehash.
could have made in the world, and it pisses me off how highly reviewed it got because they didn't do anything with the story.
Yeah,
But this one, they at least tried to change some of the dynamic with a few of the characters, and so anyway, that's why I'm giving it a little bit of a higher rating than the last one. But there were, you could hear it in this review. Obviously, there are still a lot of things about the movie, plot wholly, that just felt like it could have been more. It could have been a little tighter, a little cleaner, and
yeah.
still gotten
And
their
we bitch
points
about
across.
everything, so I mean, take that with a grain of
Yeah,
salt.
that's true. And I know it sounds like we just tore this movie to shreds, but I mean, overall, I still enjoyed it.
It's worth your money.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should still go see it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what a 7 out of 10 means. Is it wasn't perfect, it wasn't great, but it was good. And I still think if you enjoy Star Wars, you would like this movie. If you don't know anything about Star Wars, you may not like this film. But
yeah,
if you're even just a casual Star Wars, goer or movie guy, video games, whatever, I think you could get enjoyment out of at least some of the action scenes, and the some of the devices they use with the Force, and some of the stuff is pretty cool.
yeah.
So,
All
um,
right, I think that about
but
sums it
anyway,
up. We've been talking for a good bit now, so
we have, but I think it all needed to be said. I think we brought up some valid points, and I feel like maybe after this, I think I'm gonna watch a few reviews and see how on or off track I was with kind of what other people were thinking. But
you should always broaden your horizons of other people's opinions. So,
true, true. Unless it's political, of course, then you're
then yeah,
always right.
fuck off.
Um, but anyway, guys, this has been Keith
And Ben from
from Southern
Southern
Discomfort.
Discomfort. That was really
Hey,
nice.
that
Good
was I
job.
liked that. That was a good one
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, you get all coughed out now.
Um, it's the black lung cap.
I
I
thought it
think
was the
I'm gonna
black
make it.
jizz.
Oh God, it's in my throat.
Zinc.
God, I'm so fucking nutritious.
It's my secret herbs and spices from Colonel Sanders.
My secret vitamin's dick.
And scene.
Money, 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 motherfucker. Money on my motherfucking mind.